The aliens are coming. What is going on? So, all right. If you're tuning in from a few years later, you might be like, what is this? What is he talking about? So, I don't remember exactly what time. I'm a commentator. I'm not a journalist. I don't need the exact dates. The air balloon from China came across and floated all the way across the country before we shot it down. And it's obviously a Chinese spy balloon. The the leaders in charge obviously knew what it was doing, and they just let it float across the country and spy on our intelligence, on our layout, on our land, on our people. Like they just let it go. Like it entered Alaska, went through Canada, and we didn't hear about it until it went into Montana. They knew about it the whole time. Like, there's no way they didn't know that it was when it entered Alaska. So it slowly floated its way across the country from Montana all the way down to South Carolina, and then once it's off the coast, they shoot it down. I'm like, why would you let it go that far? Like, once it entered Alaskan airspace, it should have been downed. So I don't know all the exact timing of it, because I'm an excellent reporter, so I don't know these things. I'm just kidding. That's not a dig on reporters. They're usually pretty good about this. I'm joking about myself. I threw myself off with my own joke. Anywho, this should have been shot as soon as it entered Alaskan airspace. Well, apparently the timeline, supposedly Joe Biden wanted to shoot it down, and then the Pentagon said, no, it's too dangerous to shoot down. Don't let it shoot down and until it gets off the coast. And then once it's off the coast, then we can shoot it down. So I don't know how true that is. That's just what the reports say. Might just be to take the blame off Joe Biden. I don't know. Maybe he did stick up for us. Who knows? That's irrelevant to the whole point. Okay? I'm going to choose the better option that Joe Biden actually, was smart about it. And the Pentagon is really the one at fault here. Anyways. So then suddenly another unidentified object starts floating across, I don't know where it was shot down. It's like Alaska or Canada. It's kind of vague. They're being very vague about these things. But apparently there's been a bunch of them just showing up in all different shapes and sizes, and they've shot a bunch of them down, and nobody knows what it is because nobody will tell us. And then we have all these strange reports from pilots that are saying like that they don't know what it is, and it's just like, what is going on? So now we're getting to the topic. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on. I have no idea what's going on, but I have some thoughts. So I was listening to Matt Walsh. He talks about it. I love listening to his UFO stuff. He's just hilarious when he talks about all that. I completely disagree with him, but I love how excited he gets about UFOs. And just like as a side, I'm with Michael Knowles. I find the idea that just because there's a huge amount of space out there that there must be life out there, statistically speaking, I find that to be a bad argument, especially from a Christian perspective. I think that it makes sense that God He created all that for us. So I can go into that in another video if people are interested. But for now, let's just say that I think there are also other explanations that could be for UFOs, include that he doesn't list as possibilities, like natural phenomenon. We don't know everything about the world yet. We probably never will. I think we'll spend all eternity trying to figure out more about God's creation. I think that there's also demonic activity that explains some of the alien encounters that people have. So I think that's a possibility as well. So who knows? Could be a bunch of other things. Anywho, onto what this is specifically. So he was talking about how it couldn't be a cover-up, a distraction from the government, or from the media, because it would take too much time to set up that kind of distraction. And I think he misses the point. The point isn't that the media and really the left has set up these balloons as a cover-up. I think the point we're trying to make is that they're using the balloons that are already coming in, that are probably just more Chinese spy balloons, and they're using that as a cover-up to distract us from other things that they are seemingly doing, like the explosion in Ohio or whatever, and the derailments of trains that's going on. There's all sorts of crazy stuff going on. Rather than talk about that, they're talking about UFOs. I think the government knows exactly what these UFOs are. I think they know exactly what it is, and I think they're trying to use the media coverage of it to distract. Now, I could be wrong. I'll admit that. I could be wrong. We might find out someday who was right, but that's just where I lean toward, because the media, when they spend so much time covering something that seems arbitrary, like UFOs, by the time the media is talking about UFOs, there's nothing left. There's nothing left to report on. But you have all these this explosion in Ohio that's casting all these allegedly casting all these toxic chemicals into the air, allegedly set off by the government, and they're not talking about that. They're talking about UFOs. It's like something shady's going on. And then you have these big derailments of trains. I don't know if they're the same thing. I really don't know, because nobody's reporting on it. So it's like, what is going on? Why are they talking about possible UFOs from balloons or flying objects that seem to be doing the exact same thing the first Chinese spy balloon did? So I think my hypothesis, let's say, is that those are just more Chinese spy balloons floating across, and we're shooting them down, and the media is using that to cover not talking about these other things. So I think that's what's going on. Could be wrong. Maybe we'll find out soon. Maybe there are aliens and I'm totally wrong, and somehow we'll have to, it'll be interesting to think about theology of aliens. I think C.S. Lewis has some interesting ideas in his Outer Space trilogy. But that's a side. So I think that's what's going on. I think these are just more balloons. It's weird. It's weird that they just did a 100 turnaround where they're like, we're just going to let one go all the way across the country before we shoot it down. And then suddenly we're just going to shoot anything that comes into our airspace, allegedly, before we even know what it is. That just doesn't make any sense to me at all. I think they know exactly what it is before they shoot it down. I think it has to do with China, and I think one of the reasons that they're trying to leave it open as to what it is to prevent World War III. I think that they don't want to go to war with China, and so they're covering. This is possible, that they're covering for China, sending all these balloons by not talking about the fact that they are Chinese spy balloons, because China got into that it was theirs, and then having to walk that back and actually, speak the truth for once. So I think that this is basically the exact same thing, that if the government doesn't tell us that they're Chinese, then the Chinese government doesn't have to explain why more of their balloons are just in the area going across the country. So those are my thoughts. I wish they'd just be more open with us and tell us what it is, They know what they don't just start shooting things down. They know what it is before it, gets into our airspace. Usually, I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't unidentified flying objects that we see. You know, I've already mentioned that I think there are other explanations for what those could be than aliens. But I'm not saying that there aren't unidentified flying objects. But I think let's step the break before we jump to aliens. And I think there's a lot more reasonable explanation for all this, but it's fun to talk about. I enjoy it. I enjoy the debate about aliens nonetheless. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Do you think that that's compelling? Do you agree that with Matt Walsh that it's aliens? Do you disagree that, and do you think that it's not actually a cover, that it has nothing to do with why they're not talking about the other things? So let me know what you think. I'll catch you next time. Peace.